Congratulations on purchasing your CPI Basic Radiant Heating System Kit. You can look forward to clean, quiet, dust-free, and draft-free heat that keeps you gently warmed by warm water circulating through pipes under the floor. CPI has designed this Basic Radiant Heating System Kit for fast, easy, and reliable installation so you can enjoy comfortable, energy-efficient living. All of the hard-to-find components have been professionally assembled, wired, and tested, and packaged in one neat, ready-to-install kit. And best of all, there's no sweating and no soldering required. The Basic Radiant Heat Panel controls and pumps hot water through pipe in the floor. Panels are modular so that multiple panels may be used to provide multi-zone heating. The panel includes a pump to move the water, a water temperature gauge, a relay for activating the pump. When used for a direct or open system, the panel also includes a mixing valve to control water temperature and a timer to periodically circulate the standing water during the summer, and finally a thermostat. Some thermostats have a floor sensor to be inserted 1 inch into the floor. The floor sensor is used to protect hardwood floors or simply to maintain a specific floor temperature. Depending on your installation specifics, you will need accessory items to complete your system. Consult the quote you received to determine which accessories you will need. Other parts included in the kit are the manifolds which divide the water coming from the Basic Radiant panel and distributes it into multiple circuits or loops. On each loop are valves which allow you to balance the flow and consequently the heat between the loops. CPI Basic Radiant is designed to be flexible, working equally well with a water heater, outdoor furnace, or any kind of boiler. Here we see an instantaneous water heater as the heat source. Check with the manufacturer of your heat source to ensure compatibility. Unlike other PEX pipe, standard Durapex brand pipe is guaranteed for exposure to sunlight for up to 2 years and still meet all performance standards. There are 2 types of heating systems, open and closed. Note which system you are using, since there are some considerations that you must follow for each. A closed system is a self-contained system. Fluid always remains in the system unless removed for maintenance. The thermostat controls heat delivery by signaling the pump to move fluid through the in-floor pipes and circulating it through the heat source until the thermostat is satisfied. A direct or open system is one that uses a single heat source for both domestic hot water and radiant heat. The timer included with your CPI Radiant Heat panels periodically moves water through the system in off-season to prevent a stale condition. Radiant floor piping comes in either an oxygen barrier or standard grade. Both types of PEX will give you the same longevity and performance qualities. Standard Durapex piping is suitable for use with water heaters. When used with cast iron boilers, barrier pipe in an orange color should be selected. In closed systems, where periodic usage creates the possibility of freezing, a stabilized glycol antifreeze may be added to the water. Do not use automobile antifreeze. Before you start the installation, you need to size your heat source. First, keep in mind that the heat source output must be sized to match the amount of heat required to heat the building. If you're also using the heat source to supply domestic hot water, you must include the total amount of heat required for both heat and hot water usage in order to calculate your total heat load. Consult your quote for a heating load estimate. If you have a closed system, you will need to properly size an expansion tank. Remember that when water is heated, it expands to create a larger volume and needs a place to go. The purpose of the expansion tank is to provide room for the expanded hot water. Note that if you use a direct system with a backflow preventer, you will also need to install an expansion tank. To size the expansion tank, you will need to know how much water is in your system. This worksheet is available from CPI in the Design and Construction Manual and also on CPI's website, which is durapex.com. You are now ready to install your piping system. There are two primary methods of installation: in concrete and between joists. If installing between joists or trusses, first drill 2 holes near the subfloor down the row of joists at one end. Pull the pipe through one set of holes. Reverse direction and pull all the way through the other set of holes. Then pull loops down through each joist pocket. It helps to have an assistant uncoil the pipe as you pull. Use a thermal transfer plate with U-channel to better disperse the heat. These are also available from CPI. The most popular install method is in concrete. Before you start laying the tubing, remember that insulation is vital. Heat conducts to the coldest place, especially down into the ground. The first step in installing the tubing in concrete is to install a polyethylene moisture barrier. Then lay down insulation 2 inches or more in colder climates, 1 inch in moderate climates. Upon your request, a tubing layout will be provided by your associate. Place tubes on the reinforcing wire grid, or insulation if using fiber-reinforced concrete. Attach piping to the grid with plastic mesh clips about every 3 feet. If installing on styrofoam, use foam clips. Don't worry about absolute precision. You won't need a perfect arrangement. Once again, the maximum loop length is 250 feet. There is no minimum length, although you should try to make all loops the same length. Maximum circuits per panel is 5 on the RHP and RHP1 model and 10 on model RHP2. Normal spacing of the half-inch Durapex piping is 12 inches on center. Some climates or building designs require closer spacing than 12 inches on center, so consult your quote or layout. Initial pipe runs should be along the outside walls to ensure that most heat will be delivered there. Also concentrate tubing in areas like bathrooms, where more heat is wanted. At the entrance point to the slab, extend tubing up 2 to 3 feet into the air and about 3 to 6 inches from an inside wall. To simplify attachment to the manifold, space the tubes in a row 2 inches on center with the outflow tubes grouped together and the inflow tubes similarly grouped together. Then seal the ends of the tubes with duct tape to keep debris out until the manifolds are attached. Cover the tube ends with a garbage bag to protect against concrete splash. A plastic electrical conduit sweep elbow will ease the transition where the pipe exits the slab. Pipe will then sleeve through this setup when the concrete is poured. Be sure to tag ends of the tubes with a description of their location: out to back bedroom, in from storage room, and so on. Once the piping has been installed, it is necessary to pressure test the circuits at 75 to 100 psi for 24 hours before pouring concrete. To complete the test, you may use a pressure test kit available from CPI, which consists of an air fill valve and a pressure gauge. You can fill the tubes with air to achieve the desired pressure. Some drop in the pressure is normal, as the temperature changes and/or the pipe releases. Before covering the pipe, make a final inspection to detect kinks, cuts, or slits. Repair or replace pipes as necessary. If you see a drop in pressure or bubbles appear during the pouring, stop immediately and repair the pipe. Or you may place a foam block in the concrete to keep the pipe uncovered and then easily make a repair later. Remember our caution about ensuring adequate system insulation. Under the concrete, place 2 inches or more of extruded styrofoam in cold climates and 1 inch in milder climates. For best results, floor covering should be consistent throughout each heating zone. If you have different type coverings in different rooms, we recommend running separate circuits in each room and using the valves on each circuit for balancing heat distribution. While the use of parquet or laminated wood products is acceptable, you should set the limiting sensor function of the CPI panel thermostat to prevent overheating of the floor. In any case, check with the flooring manufacturer. A zone is an area of independent heat control. You should think of it as one zone equals one thermostat. After completing all the loops for a zone, cut all the tubing off flush, and install the supply and return manifolds with crimp rings. For the proper crimping technique, consult the Durapex installation manual. The crimp system is by far the most popular, dependable, and cost-effective joining method for PEX. Here we see the concrete pour and finishing process. Remember, you should leave the system under pressure during the concrete pour to ensure no damage occurs to the Durapex. The next step is installation of the radiant heat panels and connection to the heat source. First, use the convenient 16-inch on-center mounting holes to securely fasten the panel to the wall. Connect the supply line from the heat source to the panel. A T is used to divide the water between the two panels. Another T is used to connect the expansion tank to the supply pipe. Always pump away from the expansion tank. The return piping from the panels to the heat source is similarly installed and connected. Copper could be used for these connections, but Durapex is much easier and faster to install. Next is the piping from the panel to the manifolds installed earlier. The supply manifold, which provides hot water to the floor, is quite straightforward. On the return manifold, which returns the cool water back to the panel, install the fill and purge kit using one kit per zone. Now it's time to fill the system with fluid and purge the air out. Close the isolation valve, which is part of the fill and purge kit. Attach a garden hose to the fill valve and open this valve. Open the purge valve, and you may attach a garden hose to this valve too to drain the system into a bucket. If you're using a water and antifreeze mix, you can use a submersible pump to pump fluid from a bucket into the system and drain it back into the bucket until the purge process is complete. Close all loop isolation valves except for one and start the fluid flow. When the drain fluid is free of bubbles for a continuous 2 to 3 minutes, close the loop valve and open another. When you have completed all loops in turn, it's time to prime the pump. With water pressure in the system, loosen the large screw on the front of the pump about 1/4 turn. A few drops of water will come out. Then tighten the screw back down. It is normal for the pump to continue to drip for a few hours. When done with the purging, screw on the air vent. Install the thermostat in a convenient location free from drafts and direct sunlight. Route the wire back to the panel and plug it into the convenient phone-type jack. See the manual which came with the panel for instructions on adjusting the thermostat and mixing valve on the panel. Connect the plug to an electrical outlet to power up the system. Now you're ready to arrange the furniture and invite family and friends to enjoy the comfort of radiant heat.